call me Jean-Luc Picard, captain of the USS Enterprise.
I'm familiar with the man.
Yes, he drank a lot of Earl Grey. Hot. You have to specify for the replicator or we'll give you cold tea.
She.
Oh, we got some people.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Disco Wolverine in the background.
Disco Wolverine.
We got some people. That's the lovely Knob Hill out there behind the window. We are getting all decked out for Thanksgiving over here. So
showing off the window art, the hustle and bustle.
Where last week was the darkness, this week is the light. Thanks again, John Morgan. You powered us through last week without your wit and just the sort of silver lining that you pointed out in all of those books. I don't know that we would have gotten through it. Look at this stack of notables this week. This is how awesome this week was. No bottom five,
no
straight
bottom
to
five.
The notables. No flow charts, no diagrams. Why? Because it's the Max's Super Awesome Comic Review Show. I am the Max. This is Foxy, my co-host.
Hello.
We're here to bring you the latest and greatest in this week's comic books. Spider-Man 2099, issue number 6. It is a Spider-Verse tie-in. That's why it makes it onto our list of notables. Next up on our list, it is Scarlet Spiders, issue number 1, another Spider-Verse spin-off.
This one's all focused on the clones.
Yeah, it's a clone thing. You wouldn't get it. Next up on our list of notables, this didn't actually come out this week. It might have come out 2 weeks ago. It might have come out last week. I'm not sure because sometimes UPS likes to lose my things.
Is it UPS or is it Diamond this time?
But I think it was UPS this time.
Oh, good.
Just
nice change of pace.
Yeah, just to switch it up. Why not? But it was Deep State number 1. Let's see. It strikes me as like X-Files meets The Thing. John Carpenter's The Thing meets.
Not Ben Grimm, correct?
Yeah.
That's good. Clarify.
Yeah, with more action. Meets like, I don't know, James Bond.
But holy crap, if it was the X-Files meets Ben Grimm, I'd be subscribing already.
That would be interesting. Next up we have Memetic, issue number 2 of 3. This is the book you'll remember. It Crazy Sloth meme, just makes everybody go crazy. Our protagonists have 12 hours to save the world. Good stuff.
Yeah, continues to be awesome.
Yeah. And it's only 3 issues, that's cool. Next up, we talked about it last week as one of the books we were super excited for. It is Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, issue number 1. Cool, it fills in the gaps between Dawn of the Planet of the Apes and Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Koba's in it, Caesar's in it. We get introduced to a new ape named Pope, who's awesome, mutilated gorilla. So if you're a fan of the Planet of the Apes franchise, you'll probably like it. Not as strong as previous Boom Studio Planet of the Apes books have been. Next up we have, this has got to be a record that this issue is out and not appearing in the top 5. It is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, issue number 40. I still loved everything about it, but not much happens in this book other than the conclusion to a giant battle that started in the previous issue.
Totally.
And that's why it's only in the notables, because you just see Bebop and Rocksteady beating up a bunch of stuff, which is cool.
I did like when Splinter talks to was it Rocksteady when he's like, Rhinoceros Man?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a great book. Everything about it is awesome. Next up on our list, we have Rasputin, issue number 2. For those of you that complain that issue number 1 did not have enough dialogue, you will have the exact same complaint. I had a few people complain that they were like, that book was so short, there was nothing happening in it. And I'm like, well, guess what? Issue 2, same kind of thing. I still think it continues to be awesome. Rather Osmo's art.
So awesome.
So cool. It's all about the skeletons, as you said.
It's all about the skeletons, it's all about the resurrections, and apparently I did think he mentions he wishes he knew how to heal himself.
Right.
Which is very weird because the whole thing about him is that he can't die. That's a hook for me.
Yeah, I mean, so far it's the only point that I'm like, okay, this is what we're going to be following for this character. Everything else has just been like a day in the life of Rasputin.
Yeah.
He gets beat up, his mom gets beat up, his dad dies, his mom dies, he gets beat up again.
And we're introduced to some friends of his that end up beating him up.
Yeah,
but,
again, he gets
cool
beat up.
friends, cool friends.
Yeah, good guys. Next up, this was a really cool series that's coming out from IDW. This is the first installment of it, but it's called Shadow Show. It's a series of stories in celebration of Ray Bradbury. The first one is written by Joe Hill.
With art by Charles Paul Wilson III.
Yes, it's art by that guy. Anytime you have like letters in your name, I just think you're super awesome.
C.P. Wilson 3.
That's right. Oh, CP3. This issue was awesome. It was very sad, very touching. I mean, it's, you know, whenever you talk about a writer like Ray Bradbury and you're going to do things in celebration of him, you better bring your A game or I'm going to rip you for it. And since I'm not ripping it, there you go. Last up on our list of notables, I love this book. I get this book is one of my favorites. It's Transformers versus G.I. Joes. The artwork, the page layouts, the story, the concept, everything about it is just over the top ridiculous, but it is such a page turner and so much fun to read that you can't put it down and you can't stop staring. It's like the first time you watched the '84 Transformers movie, you knew your senses were being assaulted, but you were fine with it.
But then it's even crazier because Tom Scioli's art, or Scioli, I don't know how you pronounce your name, sir, but your Kirby Crackle is second to none.
It's true. Man, we have a doozy of a top 5 for you this week. I'm so excited for this top 5. Coming in at number 5, it is Trees, issue number 7. Warren Ellis's quasi-sci-fi. I don't know that he would call it sci-fi.
I mean,
call it sci-fi.
It's sci-fi, man.
Yeah, but did you read the introduction to the Lazarus hardcover last week?
Oh yeah.
You know, he's like, somehow I got penned as a science fiction author, so I don't want to pigeonhole you, Mr. Ellis.
Well, maybe it's the fact that he wrote Transmetropolitan and Global Frequency and Planetary and all of those sci-fi books that he wrote.
Yeah, you write science fiction books, you're probably going to get pegged as a science fiction writer.
Yeah, maybe if he finished Fell, that would be the thing people talk about, but it's not.
A lot happens in this issue. A lot of things get revealed that he's been kind of building for the previous 6 issues. I will say, of all the issues that I've read, 7 feels like a place that you might be able to jump in on if you're willing to just kind of go with it. Because you do get a lot of clarification of the first 6 issues. Coming in at number 4 on our list, we have Gotham by Midnight, issue number 1, written by Ray Fox and illustrated by Ben Temple-Smith.
Always a pleasure to look at the Temple-Smith.
Always.
And once again, Ray Fox is, we talk about him a lot.
We ripped you last week, I feel like, on Intersect. I hope it didn't offend you too much, because I really liked this book. This was really cool. It's weird, all of the books that have parameters, he does really well on. You let him off the chain and you get Intersect, and
then nobody knows what's happening.
You know, coming in at number 3 on the list, this is a book that could probably be in a top 5, all on its own, issues 1 through 5. But it's Baltimore, The Wolf and the Apostle.
Oh my god, so awesome.
Part 2. What?
This wolf is crazy.
Foxy, I want you to know that if you ever show up to work looking like this wolf, I'm going to find all the silver in the world, and it's going to be a reckoning. We're going to throw down like in this book. I'll probably no castles will be collapsing.
I'm going to start working out. Baltimore kills it every issue, though. Not many people read this book, but
I don't know why.
Every time you show it to somebody, they're blown away.
Yeah.
It's something that, it's off the beaten path, but if you're into monsters, if you're into ridiculously awesome art, like
super dark themes. What I loved about this issue, this story arc is 2-parters. This is the second part. It's about an inquisitor, and they're hunting a fellow inquisitor or like monk gone rogue, and they think he's fallen and made a deal with the devil. Maybe he's not. And the inquisitor in this issue comes face to face with his greatest fear. And what you realize at the end of the issue, that his greatest fear was not the wolf, it was not the monsters, it was the cracks in his own faith, in his own mission as an inquisitor. Like, hey, maybe this has gone really way too far, and which one of us is really better, the werewolf or the inquisitor? I can't stop reading them!
In the last 5 months, there's been 3 Baltimore series, I think?
Yeah.
Because one was a one-shot and then 2 issue series?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Oh, can't stop reading them. Put out another one, please, next week. There was some debate as to what was going to be the number 1 book this week, but we decided to go with the book that was going to be at number 1 because we could have a bigger conversation about it. Since the book that came in at number 2, we had a huge long discussion about last week. It's Lazarus, issue number 13. It is firing on all cylinders.
We've got the meetup between the families still going on.
A little romance.
That was a beautiful character moment.
A little intrigue.
I teared up. I'm not gonna lie. You're heartless.
I am. Alright, coming in at number 1. It's Matt Fraction. It's Christian Ward. Odyssey.
I do love Matt Fraction. He writes some of my favorite books. Sex Criminals, Hawkeye, Casanova.
Immortal Iron Fist. It's awesome.
Oh, it was, totally. And, you know, this is not my favorite of his, though. I will say I'm not, it felt like I was doing homework.
Yeah.
And it gave me a bad high school association, just because that's the only time I've ever really read epic poems like the Odyssey, and it's not really my flavor.
Fair enough.
For the literary minded such as yourself, I was like, oh, Max is gonna love this.
So let me get into ways that I appreciate Odyssey, unlike any comic book I've ever appreciated before.
I'm just gonna hop out of frame for that. I got nothing. I got nothing on this.
So the thing with Odyssey is it's a science fiction, gender-bending retelling of Homer's Odyssey, where all of the characters are female or bigendered. But the attention to detail that Matt Fraction places on making it read and feel and flow as much like an epic would is incredible. Even the narration bubbles are numbered in a stanza-style format. The way that the narration takes place is just super incredible. There's no dialogue in the entire book until like the 6th page. It is really hefty. I will admit with Foxy on that one, the first like 6 pages of this book, you get like this huge, long, ancient history of all of this galactic, cosmic stuff that's happened.
And then Jedediah begat Jebediah, and then Jebediah begat...
But that's how these stories were told. That's what you would need, because that gives you the context for just how incredible these heroes are and how meddling these gods are and what exactly it's going to take to get this crew back home. The only thing that I had questions about was the Seebex.
Yeah.
Which we're going to get into that more. My theory is that it is an alien that can have sex and reproduce with a woman. Because there's no men in the book. There's one, you see him chained up.
Yeah. Okay.
As a slave. You will have to have some sort of inclination for epics to, I think, get the most out of Odyssey. I would encourage anybody to pick it up and at least give it a shot, because I think the artwork is going to pull you in. It's very intriguing.
And by the end of the first issue, I was kind of getting my head wrapped around it. And the last few pages,
epic as the issue goes on.
Yeah, I think it becomes more digestible.
Yeah, I think he used the epic qualities of it to set up the story, to give you the feel for it, to give you some time to adjust to it. And then the last like 4 pages is just pretty standard comic.
Yeah, it got into more comic-y comics by the end. So I'm definitely going to check out the second issue, but I'm very much on the fence right now.
Yeah, I give it number 1 this week because A, I love epics, but B, what an incredibly difficult book to pull off. Like,
oh yeah.
What I cannot imagine the look on his editor's face when he pitched him that idea.
It's an impressive feat.
Yeah.
And even based on the description, I would not have assumed it would read like it does.
Yeah, I mean, you're thinking, okay, it's going to be just a standard comic, whatever. We're going to get some, Odysseus is going to be Odysseus, and blah, blah, strip.
Yeah.
No.
And I mean, like,
recreates the Greek pantheon. I'm really excited to see how the other characters from the Odyssey show up in the book. We've seen a few hints here and there already of places and names, but man, yeah, Odyssey, number 1. Check it out. That's all. It's amazing. Speaking of amazing things, we have one graphic novel we have to go over. Satoshi Kon, Opus.
Yeah, and Satoshi Kon, he left this mortal coil a few years ago. Famous for directing fantastic films such as Paprika, Perfect Blue. Mm-hmm. Paprika was probably his biggest hit. Tokyo Godfathers and Millennium Actress were both fantastic as well. Millennium Actress is probably my favorite of all of his films.
I have not seen that one.
It's so beautiful.
Somebody somewhere got paid a lot of money to pitch this book and wrote it up in this magazine right here. So I'm going to read this because they probably summed it up better than we could.
They did a better job.
Yeah. Brilliant animated director Satoshi Kon died tragically young in 2010 at the age of 46. But before he became a director, he was a manga artist, and Dark Horse is honored to remember Kon, an omnibus collection of a 2-volume manga from 1996 created by Kon on the eve of his first film. Opus contains the mastery of both realism and surrealism that would make Kon famous for Perfect Blue. As a manga artist, planning a shocking surprise ending to his story gets literally pulled into his own work to face for himself what he had planned for his character.
Read the beginning, it was fantastic. I wanted to just read it all in one sitting. But I had other books to read.
got in the way and was like, yo, Foxy, we shooting an episode tonight. And he's like, yeah, but Opus. I'm like, yeah, we'll get to it. Don't worry. So we have a special words of the show for you tonight because today, this week, there is a new issue of Bleeding Cool, the magazine out.
Thank you again, Bleeding Cool, for reposting this show every week. That's awesome.
Yeah, please.
Triples our viewership.
Please continue to do it after this segment. But this issue is really cool because it features the top 100 power list for comics industry of 2014. So look at 2014, the most powerful, not necessarily most influential, not necessarily best, powerful people in the comics industry of the last year.
That can throw their weight around.
Eric Stevenson didn't make it on the list until 9. He is the chief publisher at Image Comics. But let's see who made it in at number 1.
I don't think it's unreasonable to think that Diane Nelson would be in the top couple of people because DC is the biggest.
No, I'm fine with Diane Nelson being number 1. She did, after all, convince everybody at DC to move over to California. Clearly, the woman has some power and is not afraid to exercise it. I would just wish she would follow through on some of her promises. So
I don't think that she's making good on the whole, oh, we're going to represent women, so like top priority, we're going to make sure that women are represented better.
yeah,
You know,
DC's like the worst at that.
DC is still the worst with cover representation. Man, Oracle, you know?
Coming back.
Coming back to Oracle.
Coming back.
You got a strong, disabled woman lead character.
Yeah.
And you make her just like everybody else. And, you know, we're big supporters of the Batgirl book that's happening right now.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's still using that character that used to be Oracle.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Yeah.
Does that cancel it out? I mean, I like good comics, so I'll read it, but
I loved Oracle. But Dan DiDio comes in at number 4. Alright. Whatever.
New 52, I mean, when we're talking about power, we're talking about money. And
New 52 was
it brought people to the shops.
apparently still is widely successful. Still the numbers are still way up across the board on it.
Kevin Feige at number 5, obvious, Marvel Cinematic head honcho.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
It does. It does. Jeff Johns at number 6.
That makes no sense.
That doesn't make sense. I think that's where Eric Stevenson should be.
I do believe so. Maybe Rich is a big Jeff Johns fan.
I think the only reason that he's in at number 6 is because in a company, like, it's weird, this weird power struggle that DC has going on right now. And I think Johns makes it into the top 10 because he's got himself set up in a way that he can have his 2 monthly books and nobody's going to bother him about them. He doesn't have an editor he has to answer to. Like, he gets to do really whatever he wants to do.
And really what you're describing to me sounds like Brian K. Vaughan, who didn't make it on the list till like number 24.
Right.
But I guess it's not as impressive because he works without an editor on an Image book, so that's not as difficult as working without editor interference at DC. We should be giving prizes for that.
Right. I don't agree either. Eric Stevenson at number 9, like we said. Axel Alonso, editor-in-chief at Marvel at number 8. I'm cool with that. Axel's the man.
Way down there.
Here's where I have some issues. Scott Snyder at number 11. Get out of here. Really, 11? No.
They put him above Kirkman.
They
At
put
12.
him, and look at Kirkman's face. He's smirking.
Yeah,
He
even
knows.
Kirkman knows.
He knows it's ridiculous. Hickman comes in at 18, which I think is pretty high.
I'm just going to keep going back to Brian K. Vaughan. How is Hickman above Vaughan? They're both working for Image. They both have done work for the big two.
Yeah.
But just because Vaughan is focused on one book right now, Hickman's writing Avengers, great. And he's writing East of West, great. He's got a couple of other, Image books and whatnot, but it's not the same reach as Saga.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that he's doing anything that's industry-defining or groundbreaking. He's writing a cool Avengers book.
He's writing a cool Avengers book, and he's writing a cool book of his own. But yeah, he's not... What he does doesn't change the way other publications work.
Right.
And that, we talked again in depth about Brian K. Vaughan and Saga's effects and how widespread they are last week. I feel like that's being overlooked.
Here's a question for you. How do you feel about David Steinberg, CEO of Comixology, being in at number 15?
Comixology is huge. Comixology is great. I don't think that they should have sold off to Amazon.
No.
I think that is problematic. And if we're going to put him at number 15, we might as well put Jeff Bezos at number 15, the guy who runs Amazon, because that's the real guy pulling the strings at this point.
Personally, I think that digital comics are blasphemous, but that's just my personal opinion. I just, digital things give me a headache, so. Mark Millar, number 20, that's cool, whatever. He gets to have his own universe. Brian K. Vaughan at 24, the man who turned down television for comics, moving to number 1. That's all I gotta say.
And again, Mark Millar before Brian K. Vaughan. Seriously?
Yeah.
Okay, whatever.
Yeah. But if you ever hear or wonder what they mean when they say that the comic book industry is dominated by middle-aged white men, look at this list. Seriously.
Seriously. The people of color are few and far between, and they're pretty
The
far
first
down
African
the list.
American shows up at number 42. 42! And he's the chief buyer for Barnes & Noble. There's like 3 Asian people. Jim Lee is the first one on the list at 19.
And, you know, this is honestly probably not far off if we're talking about clout within the industry. I wouldn't be surprised if there were no people of color higher than that. I'm sure it's not Rich Johnston missing them.
No, I mean, I'm sure that that's just
how the world is.
That's how they shake out. The demographic is a little bit younger than I would have thought. There's a lot of guys in their like 30s coming up on the list, and there are more women on this year's list than there were last year.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. So, other things I have serious issue with. Neil Gaiman coming in at 34. Neil Gaiman doesn't even like comic books. Why is he on this list? No, I went to a signing recently. There was like 8 book cases full of his novels, and there was like 2 Sandmans like crumpled up in a trash bin next to him.
Like 2 copies of a trade paperback?
No. Like 2 copies of an issue.
Wow.
Yeah. So you can tell what he thinks of comic book fans. And after he spent most of his lecture talking about how he sat in Brazil for 3.5 hours and signed novels for people so that they wouldn't riot, guess how many comic books that man signed?
Well, definitely not mine that I gave you.
Yep, not your Death hardcover.
Nope.
0. 0 is the answer. I mean, and he's a talented writer, and his novels are good, and I like his short stories. But on a list of 100 most powerful comic book people,
we're gonna put people who don't prioritize
yeah,
comics.
if you don't even like comics, don't be on the list. Don't do that. Put me on there.
Yeah, why didn't we make the cut?
Yeah, why isn't Foxy who is number 99? But it's a really cool list. It provided Foxy and I hours of debate and argument, as you witnessed a few of those rants here in the shop. I think it's a great thing that Bleeding Cool does. It gives you the who's who. Hey,
and you get to see what all these guys look like.
Bleeding Cool, good job putting the list out there.
If you want to consult us next time, you got our email. We talk. We can do a FaceTime.
Yeah.
Google Hangout.
That'd be cool.
I'm down.
Yeah. We got reception in the forest. Anyway, this is the Max's Super Awesome Comic Review Show. Wishing everybody out there a very safe and very happy Thanksgiving. For our international audience, have a very safe and happy Thursday. We will see you right here next week. Till then, stay frosty.
And maybe we'll see you, across the street in 10 minutes. Because we're going to be,
Discoteca.
Yeah, we're going to go clubbing over there.
See
See those lights? That's us, man. Party time.